him gain another yard. You blitz all night. And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out.
The New Hampshire High School Football Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
You got heart, charisma, and a lot of skill.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier and Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
Clear eyes, full hearts. Let's go play some football.
Good morning and welcome to our playoff edition of the New Hampshire High School Football Show. We do it each and every Saturday morning during the New Hampshire High School football season, 8 to 9 a.m. Two fine stations here in New Hampshire, News Radio 610 and 96.7. My name is Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com. It just got a different feeling when you come in on the morning of playoff Saturday. 12 games around the state of New Hampshire. I'm pretty pumped up about it.
It feels like football weather, too. You know, it's like nice and cool,
right.
Sunny day. I was worried about rain and so forth, but yeah, we're ready to roll.
We have lucked out in a big way.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Feels like
all
it.
season long. I mean, we had relatively balmy temperatures even last week in the regular season finale weekend. We have pretty much dodged a lot of rain for the most part, especially on Friday nights. I mean, it's been great, and let's hope it continues, although I do see the forecast for next week looks like 30s, potential big snowstorm they're talking about
That'd be
midweek.
great. I would love that. You
Snowbanks on the sides of the field for next week.
Yeah.
The semifinals.
Snowballs.
Well, no games last night. As we said, playoffs start today, and all the playoff games going down at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we do not have a scoreboard brought to you by the New Hampshire Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement in that Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults not to buy alcohol for minors. We do have 12 games to talk about in 4 different divisions across New Hampshire high school football. So to break down what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, let's go to Dave Haley for that full playoff bracket breakdown.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen them already, all these previews, I previewed every single playoff game this weekend, or taking place today on NHSportsPage.com, so you can... I expound over 1,400 words in each one of them. I don't say anything in 500 words. So let's go Division I. And all the games are at 1 o'clock because God forbid anybody would want to go to more than one game. But Concord is hosting Manchester Central. Concord, the only undefeated team in Division I. Londonderry at Pinkerton. Londonderry will apologize to nobody they're in, but I think they've got to be probably the biggest underdog of the major divisions easily. What I think, 2 absolutely terrific football games. The defending champion Exeter Bluehawks are going to Spalding High School today to play the Fighting McIsaacs at 1 o'clock. And I picked Spalding in that game. We'll go through picks and so forth. We got a lot to go through. The other game in Division I is the game that the great John Kesty and Pete Terrier are going to be at today with the NHSportsPage.com video cameras, interviews, highlights, everything, play-by-play for Pete Terrier. Buy the DVD of this game at Nashua. It's going to be Estella Stadium, Nashua South. Pete Terrier's Nashua South. Purple Panthers taking on Keene High School, who's playing absolutely terrific football right now.
I'm excited about the game.
How do you feel about Nashua South? As a Nashua South guy,
I like their chances.
You like whose chances?
South. I like South to win the game. I picked it. I think it's going to be a tremendous game.
Yeah.
But I'm just really excited about it. I had trouble... And I'm not playing in this game, but I had trouble sleeping last night because I was so excited about today.
Yeah.
And there was nothing going on last night. I watched some of the Celtics game. I saw the last minute or so as they held off the Orlando Magic 2 in a row.
Oh, that's so bad that we're
You know what,
games.
though? You know what, though?
That's terrible.
And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking Celtics here, but remember what we were all saying about the Red Sox 8 months ago? They stink. They have no chance. And they just had a parade last week. I'm not saying the Celtics are going to win the NBA championship.
The Celtics are really bad, Pete.
But they could be better than people think.
No, they're really, really bad.
We'll leave it at that.
They're really bad. They beat Orlando, it was really bad. Division II, let's go through those games. Kennett earns that playoff spot. Nice job by Mike Holdham and his staff, and they play at Plymouth today. There's your reward. Go to Plymouth and be a 30-point underdog. But Kennett heads off to Plymouth today. There's big games, there's best games. Here's my most interesting game, for me personally. Trinity at Wyndham.
Yeah.
I'm very curious
That's
to
a heck of
see
a game.
who shows up because I talked to, without naming names, a prominent media member who I respect a lot about the Wyndham Trinity game the first time around, and he flat out said Trinity's body language was terrible, and they looked like they were giving up halfway through the game at points. Some kids, not everybody, but really just didn't like the whole vibe of that team. Now, they came back and they beat St. Thomas in the season finale, and it's 0-0 today, and Trinity has proven they can go on the road and win. But that's a very interesting game today. I'm very curious to see
Let's
how
go
it goes.
back 1 year on that particular matchup, Trinity-Wyndham. Regular season finale last year, Trinity wiped the floor with Wyndham at Gill Stadium. It didn't matter because they were going to play each other the next week in the playoffs no matter what.
Yeah.
Wyndham gave them a game. I mean, Wyndham could have won that football game. Trinity won it at the end.
Didn't Wyndham come out and pretty much say they threw the last game?
Exactly. After the game, they're talking about how, look, whether we won this game or not, the NHIAA wasn't going to let us play on our home field, or, our home field wasn't playable. I'm not saying the NHIAA said you couldn't play there, but they knew that even if they had won that game last year against Trinity, they would not be able to get the home game. So they really had nothing to play for. So they didn't want to show much.
Are you suggesting the same thing happens?
I don't know. I mean, it would be crazy for me to think that, and I think crazy for them to do that more than crazy for me to think that. But you just never know. I mean, would you ever thought last year that Wyndham basically wouldn't try in that regular season finale?
No, but I didn't know the circumstances around it as far as the home field. But no, and it didn't surprise me when they made it was such a good game in the playoffs. But anyway, that's the game. I'm going to be very curious to see. I've got a 7-year-old with a whooping cough, so I don't know how far we'll be going. But
and you brought her into the studio.
Yeah, no, she doesn't have a whooping. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Thanks, Allison.
She won't cough once the whole show. Merrimack Valley goes to Portsmouth, the scene of a very bloody crime earlier this year. I was there when they were down 28-0 at Portsmouth. But they go back, a much improved team, and Merrimack Valley. That's a big. It's a big playoff game for Dave Jackson and that staff. We're going to be talking to Monadnock head coach Linwood Patnode today.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, one of my favorite coaches to talk to. He's a lot of fun. Sanborn at Monadnock. Monadnock's undefeated and will be hosting that game today. And our own Jennifer Chick.
Oh, she's going to that game.
She's going.
Good.
So we're going to have the NASportspage.com cameras out at Monadnock today. Jen Chick's going to be out there. She's doing a terrific job for us. So, and I know she hates being on camera, so I love the fact that she's just sucking it up and doing it. Anyway, she's a behind-camera talent. We got to get John Kesty on camera one of these days. Announce the game.
No.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Game of the day, game of the year, I would say really game of the millennium. Interlakes, Moltenboro at Guilford, the Golden Eagles. They're going into my hometown, and they're going to walk away defeated. That's how it's going to work out. But Guilford
You're talking about Interlakes Moltenboro.
Yeah, they're going to lose.
All right.
Yeah, they're walking into my hometown. They're going to walk away defeated. In Division III, Guilford at 6-2 is going to host Interlakes Moltenboro, who's got a very good player by the name of Devontae Carter. So that'll be a fun game to watch. And Guilford puts up points. Bow at Pelham. The Division III championship game's today.
Yeah, I know.
It's today.
That's a killer. I hate that. Remember, I was all worried about Concord Bedford. The Division I championship game was going to be on the first weekend of the playoffs. Well, that's what you have in Division III with Bow and Pelham.
Yeah, and Bow's playing terrific, and Bow took care of Campbell. Campbell had a very, very nice year, and they're a very good team. But they were clearly the third best team in that division, so it did work out. I don't feel like anybody got, and Somersworth, same thing. Good football program, but didn't get in. So all the credit to those two schools. But Pelham's undefeated. Bow goes there, and Bow lost the season opener 7-0 against Pelham early this year. So it should be a terrific game, and I don't think there'll be a lot of points this time around either. Wrapping up the last two games, Epping Newmarket plays Bishop Brady at home.
The 500 Bowl?
The 500 Bowl. Hey, they're there. So, yeah, that's the 500 Bowl. Epping Newmarket with Jake Valinsky, who's a terrific middle linebacker for them. And Bishop Brady's got Matt. I don't know how you say it, Tito or Tedo. And then they got Brendan Johnson as their quarterback. So Bishop Brady can score some points. So it should be an interesting game. And finally, another very good game. These two teams played 2 weeks ago. Stevens will host this time Newport. They went at Newport and won 9-6 a couple weeks ago. Those are two very good football teams as well. Stevens and Newport, I think, are kind of your next... they're right behind Pelham, as far as the next tier, and then I would put Guilford after that.
Now, Donald Pellerin, a tremendous player for Stevens, has had a great year. He's a kid that I think if they can get by this game and get to the next round, get to the Final Four, you're going to start hearing a lot more about. He's a very, very good player. Newport, I've talked about this before. I got kind of like a little special place in my heart for them.
Yeah, you said that.
Because that's really where I started my my play-by-play career. I used to do cable access play-by-play for the Newport Tigers in 1991.
Please tell me this tape of that.
I don't know.
You must have weighed 130 pounds.
No, but the funny thing is, I had a friend of mine from high school.
Can you imagine?
Doug Hitzman doing color commentary for me. This was just like, I needed another guy.
Oh, yeah.
So I bring him up there, and he drops an F-bomb. The first game we did. And I'm like, Doug.
It's like Bob Uecker in Major League. It's like, no one's listening anyway.
But Larry Carl was a veteran coach back then in 91.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jen interviewed him. Larry Carl, I can't get in touch with the guy. I've been trying for 6 years, but he does a great job up there in Newport. They've won some championships. And
yeah, they were a power back then. There was a kid by the name of Richard Holmes that was a great Newport running back then.
I remember that.
And you know what? This is a huge rivalry.
What year?
91.
Oh, so my
you were like
I just graduated.
From high
I was
school.
at Bridgeton Academy, but Mike Scarron was a very good friend of mine who was all state in 1990 for Newport. So you just missed him.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge rivalry out there. They haven't played in a while. Newport. Well, I mean up until this year because they weren't in the same division together.
Yeah.
So
it should be a very good game, and again that's a program with some good history. You know what I mean? They're always in it. They're always tough and they always compete. And apparently they got a sophomore. I only learned this from Jen Chick going up there, but C.J. Lawrence is a sophomore running back for them. Had about 150 yards against a good Mascoma team.
Right.
The Mascoma team that brought back 4 of their key players from a team that they lost to Franklin in the Division 6 championships. Seems funny saying Division 6 now.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Like Division 14.
It does.
But anyway, so that was a good win.
And look what happened to Franklin. I mean, they were in the championship game, and they won the championship last year. And this year they were like not even competitive.
Well, with Greg Husband not there anymore.
Right. But I mean, he obviously was a big part of that. But I mean, to go from a championship, we talk about the Red Sox worst to first. They went first to worst.
It happens. You'll see it in basketball this year. I'll give you one example. I think Sauhegan basketball lost something like 8 of their top 9 players and their coach. So I'm not sure the Sabres are going to be you know what I'm saying? Like with high school, if you've got a senior-laden team like that, then that's exactly what happens.
And, and you mentioned they lost their basketball coach, Mike Heaney, who is now coaching the Sauhegan girls. Yeah,
one of our good friends. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and I'm going to miss him. I really liked covering him, and he's going to be a guy that might convince us to do a little bit more girls coverage.
We'd love to. I mean, as we continue to expand the website, it's we are going to cover girls sports. I mean, probably not you and I and John, but we'll hire somebody down the road to do it. But we look forward to doing that. But yeah, I talked to Mike for about a half hour. Few weeks back, and he's excited. He's really his daughter's on that team.
Yes, so that's a big part of it.
And he loves the girls, and he's excited about it. So
well, I'm excited about the games going off today. We got to take a time out. Want to come back and get into each and every one of these games in some detail. We'll talk about who each of us like to win those games, why. It's just gonna be a fun day of football, and I kind of like it that they're all going off at the same time. It reminds me of that first few days of the NCAA tournament, March Madness. This is great. Twitter will be burning up.
Yeah, blown up. And it's something cool. I know what you say. Like I look at it as, at 1 o'clock you're going to be at Stello's with John. But you're going to say, they're kicking off in Monadnock right now. They're kicking off in Epping right now. They're kicking off in Concord right at the very moment.
And people will be saying, hey, what's going on elsewhere?
Yeah,
and I'll say,
huge.
Go to Twitter. All right? Why do you have to keep that? There is this thing called the internet. And there is a mobile phone that everybody has. If get on Twitter, you can follow it. You don't have to ask people.
If
what's
you
going on.
follow me on Twitter, at NHSportsPage.com. I'm not sure where I'll be, but I'll be able to be retweeting a lot of these games. So if you follow me on Twitter, I'll keep you up to date on everything.
What is your Twitter handle? It's not.
It's NH Sports Page. I think
it's at NH Sports Page.
Yeah, it's at NH Sports Page.
Sort of like
Elliot set it up. You think I did it?
It's sort of like your own phone number.
I've got about 1,400 followers now. But if you follow me today, I'll get every score out to you because I follow all over. We'll get scores of everything for you.
All right, we'll start with Division One. We got Linwood Patnod, the head coach of the Monadnock Huskies, the #1 seed in Division 2. We'll talk to him. Great story. How good are they? Well, we'll find out somewhat today when they play Sanborn in the D2 quarterfinals, that conference championship game. But I think we're going to find out more about that team next week if they are able to keep that unbeaten season going. It is the New Hampshire High School Football Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
From Manchester West to Winnicott, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth, the New Hampshire High School Football Show brings you the best coverage in the state on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Playoff football here in the state of New Hampshire today. It is the conference championship games, although my co-host Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com can't seem to, I would say, warm to that terminology, conference championship. You're all about subdivisions and things like that.
Is that what we call it? I don't know, whatever.
Technically, they're the conference championship games.
Okay.
And you got 4 of them going on in 3 different divisions of New Hampshire high school football. We're going to talk about the Division 1 games. Let's start at the top here. The Concord Crimson Tide, at the beginning of the year, we knew that they had something cooking in Concord. We've heard for the last couple of years that this might be the year that they get to the playoffs, and they've done it. Eric Brown, in his 5th season as head coach of the Crimson Tide after he took over for Bob Cameron, has his team as the favorites to win Division 1.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way around it. Now, there's a great storyline with Manchester Central upsetting Bedford last week in that win and you're in game, and now they got to go up to Concord, and you got to wonder what Josiah Wade and that Manchester Central Little Green team are going to be able to do for Concord. And they lost 35-6 in the season opening game, and they were never in that game. It was basically running time in the second half. Wade was not a factor, not because Concord shut him down, because Central really didn't utilize him like they're utilizing him now. But I still think Concord is the odds-on favorite to win that game.
Yeah, we covered the Jamboree and Josiah. You know, I remember standing on the sidelines with Justin McIsaac and John and saying, where's – because I've seen Josiah Wade played, and I knew who he was. But where is he? Oh, yeah, there. I mean, you had to really kind of search him out. He did score a touchdown, but he wasn't – it wasn't like you saw last weekend when you were at Bedford and he carried the ball 30 times. And
40 times.
Yeah, they'll that kid's a workhorse. And they'll do the same today. Concord is, I think, balanced it out nicely of – kind of easing into the playoffs, but still like getting their key guys. They got Wally. How do you say Indy?
Yeah.
Indy over 1,000 yards. And I think he, of all the 1,000-yard rushers, according to my side, he had the fewest carries to get there.
Yeah.
Because that guy just, I mean,
he's a big play waiting to happen, and it's not because he has tremendous speed like a Manny Lattimore or a Trevor Knight.
He's bulky too, man.
He's
a
big
strong
and
kid.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Leo Saday's more of the kind of like
he's fast.
He's more
powerful.
like a Darren Sproles kind of guy, like out of the backfield, and he can. And then Simu Smith, and they have the whole crew over there. Robbie Loss got a lot better. Yeah, I think they're definitely the favorite. And are we agreed? They have home field advantage, right?
Yes, they do.
Through the whole thing. So
they're the
Concord.
highest rated team in Division 1.
Nice to see Memorial Field in the mix again. You know what I mean? That's an old school venue. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what. They and I haven't been over there, but if you go to Memorial Field in Concord, and you got Memorial Field there, and it's an old, like you said, it's an old venerable stadium type thing, natural grass.
Yeah.
Which in November, getting to mid-November,
could be interesting.
Not looking as good. Luckily, the weather's been pretty good this week, so it should be a decent. But you get on the field, there's a lot of like divots and bumps and things like that. It's not exactly natural. I mean, artificial surface, beautiful AstroTurf, so to speak. But they have like this practice field, or maybe it's like a multi-purpose field for soccer and lacrosse and all that, that is to the left of the place if you're facing Memorial Field. And when I got there for the first game this year, I'm like, man, maybe they're playing on this new field now, and I didn't know about it. And I didn't go over the field, so I don't know what the surface is like. But, Memorial Field's got a lot of history. It's been a while since Concord. I think 82, the last time they had a undefeated season. That's when I was growing up in Nashua, and Nashua was really good back then.
Yeah.
And Concord and Portsmouth was very good back then as well. So this is kind of bringing back memories. I just like Concord in that game. I was talking all year long about Concord-Bedford. We're going to have Kurt Hines next week from Bedford in studio for the whole show.
Oh, good.
So he's going to serve as an expert analyst for the playoffs, and he's a guy that has been involved in all three divisions. They were a Division III team with Bedford 3 years ago.
They just played Portsmouth.
They were D2, and now they're D1. So he's a guy that can speak to a bunch of different competitions. So we'll have him in studio next week. Looking forward to that. The other game in Division 1 today, one of four conference championship games, quarterfinal games, if you will. Pinkerton and Londonderry. We've talked. Pinkerton really has the easiest path. No disrespect to John Rich, that Londonderry program. Pinkerton is just better, and they should walk right into the Final Four next week.
Yeah, and not only is I wrote in my preview of this, no team gave up more points. No playoff team gave up more points than Londonderry did. They gave the most points of anybody. So offensively, Dennis Bishop, and they got some playmakers over there, but their defense doesn't stop anybody, and the problem is, I believe they've lost 5 of 7. They're trending the wrong way. They're not 4-5, but they're starting to really get it together, and they've lost 3 close games in a row. They could have gone either. No.
They got blown out by Salem.
They got blown out
by
by Salem.
But I bet you, and I didn't look too closely into the box score or anything. I bet you they knew that they were set. And that no matter what they did last week, I'm sure they played it safe last week against Salem.
We're completely hypothetical on this conversation, but why would they do that? Because they need to get better, so they don't need to just sit there and pump the brakes before the playoffs. They got to win games, and they got to get better.
Coach O'Reilly from Pinkerton last week on this radio show told us that I think 5 or 6 starters didn't even play, including Manny Lattimore last week.
Oh, yeah, for Pinkerton.
Right.
Well, they're already good. I'm talking about Londonderry. But, if they did that against Salem. But, yeah, Pinkerton... let's look at Pinkerton. They lose opening weekend to Bedford in a game that could have gone either way, low-scoring, rock fight kind of game. And I don't even know if Matt Madden played in that game. Or he played one way at least. And then they lose the overtime game to Concord,
where they blew an 8-point lead in the final minute.
Yeah, and they had Wally,
and they controlled that game,
wrapped up on and in the backfield, and he got away and scored what turned out to be the game-winning touchdown. They're very close. I'm not worried about Pinkerton. I don't know if they're going to win it, but they're going to be right there.
They could win it. I would say
almost better than their record indicates, which is saying something when they're 7-2. That's what I'm saying.
Well, when you look at it, Pinkerton, to me, even though they are 7-2, they might be that second best team. I don't know. Nashua South is very good. Keene is very good. I haven't even seen the Blackbirds
we'll find out.
in person.
Okay, so let's say Pinkerton win, and I'm not even looking at the seedings right now, or the points. Say Pinkerton wins, and they play Keene or South. They have to go on the road for either one, I believe.
Correct.
Wouldn't that be a toss-up game? Pinkerton at Keene or Pinkerton at South?
I think Pinkerton at Keene is tougher for them because it's on the grass field. I think that, you put Pinkerton and that speed on the turf of Stello Stadium. And I know you got a better offensive team in Nashua South than you do in Keene, but Keene's better defense. I don't know.
But the point is right. They're right there. You know what I mean? It's always going to come down to that 2 versus 3 and so forth, so on. And I think Pinkerton is absolutely right there. So let's talk about the game you're going to.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of time to do it because we've got Coach Pat now coming up next, but I think it's going to be a tremendous game. Nashua South, I'm sure, wants revenge because Keene beat them in that game a few weeks ago in Keene. It was Keene up big early, South storms back, kind of back and forth for the middle part of that game, and then Keene basically won the fourth quarter, scored a couple of touchdowns, and one going away 42-28. I think it's going to be a different game.
Both teams think they're going to win today.
Both teams definitely think they're going to win.
And should feel that way.
And what a marquee matchup at the quarterback position.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Knight, Alex Parento.
Parento is a man.
Parento is not the passer that Knight is. but they're equally good runners. Knight's a little bit faster. I think we got Coach Patnod on the phone right now.
All right, let's do it.
So why don't we go to him, and we'll shift gears a little bit to Division II. Coach Patnod from Monadnock, the Huskies, the number 1 seed in Division II, is on the line with us. Coach, good morning and happy playoffs to you.
Yes, good morning to you guys too. And yes, it's a fun day.
Did you have trouble getting to sleep last night? Because it's different. I mean, a lot of times playing on a Friday night, now you got to play on Saturday. It kind of throws off the whole routine, and I'm sure you had a lot of restless kids, especially yesterday in practice.
Yeah, I think that we did have probably a little bit of an edgy night, but it's helped to be a playoff team the last 3 or 4 years. It just kind of helps settle the nerves a little bit, know a little bit what to expect. Atmosphere on playoff day is just so much different.
Coach, I'm trying to remember. You beat Kearsarge last year in what was a great game in the Division 6 semis. That was at Kearsarge, right? Or was that home?
Yeah, Division 5, and that was
Division 5. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That was in Kearsarge.
So,
and the cool thing about that is that we had lost to them 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, and that was a really good team. That with Peter Allen, and that was a good Kearsarge team.
Oh, they started 11 seniors. That was a really talented team. I felt.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked, because I was at the Division 5 championship game that you won when you beat Somersworth, and so this is a home game for you guys, though. Obviously today, so I mean, this has got to be a kind of a really big deal around town.
It's a really big deal, and we don't get these very often around here, or we haven't. I expect a really big crowd, and it's I'm looking out the window right now, and it's a beautiful morning that's coming around. So I think it's going to be a great day and a great crowd.
So I've written a lot about you guys, and by the way, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but Jen Chick, who's our new videographer on board, is going to be out there today in Monadnock. So if you win, please be very nice to Jen. She's nervous. She's nervous on camera.
I truly try to be very nice to everybody.
But talk a little bit about the team that you have here. How do you say Drew Bolowski? Is it Bolowski? How do you say his last name?
Beluski,
Drew Beluski, and then my favorite named player in the state, River Fish, of course, I got to mention, Dylan Lane, Isaiah Prince, who I talked to you in the preseason, who you're really excited about, his maturation as a quarterback. You got a kid, Mason LeClaire, on defense, is one of the best defensive players in the division. Just kind of talk to for people that haven't seen Monadnock yet, just about this team.
Well, first and foremost, you just mentioned a handful of seniors minus River. River's a sophomore, and
I just wanted to say his name.
Riverfish.
Yeah.
And he's a sophomore. He's a talent. His favorite sport, and probably his primary sport, is baseball.
I thought you were going to say bass fishing.
No. He's a baseball player, but he's such a talent, and he's just going to be really, really good football player. Going into his junior year, he helps us like mad this year anyway. But the other fellows are all seniors, and they played a big part on that championship team last year. We graduated a really nice group of seniors last year, and I think that because of that, we had. Probably we were looked upon this year as maybe a little bit of a rebuild year, maybe a little bit of a mediocre season, especially whereas we aren't playing in the division we could have played in, and I mean that in that our enrollment fits us into D3, but because of these seniors this year, they've really taken it upon themselves to say, this is our year. We loved our brothers that graduated, but this is our year, and they've really taken it upon themselves to lead this team. Done a great job.
That's the voice of Linwood Patnod, the head coach of the undefeated Monadnock Huskies, the number 1 seed in Division II. They're going to take on Sanborn this afternoon, 1 o'clock, East Swansea or Swansea Center.
I do have to correct you, though. We're not the 1 seed.
You're not?
No, we're the 2 seed.
So Plymouth is the 1. Well, really based on the rating. So is that how they do it? It's strictly on the rating. So you guys are technically the 2 seed. Well, I was saying,
2 seed, yeah.
Well, right now in your conference, you're the 1 seed, right?
We are the conference 1 seed.
That's what I meant.
Okay, sorry. And it is pretty fun today. Whereas I had forgotten that we're actually playing for a conference title today, and I was just thinking it was a quarterfinal game.
Let me ask you this, Coach, though, and I think you kind of helped me out with this question a little bit. Despite the fact that you're unbeaten, you have the best record, you're the only team that hasn't been beaten in Division II.
Right.
Because of that so-called strength of schedule or lack thereof, based on the teams that you played during the regular season, you didn't really play the iron of the division. Portsmouth, Plymouth, Trinity, Wyndham, Merrimack Valley. You guys had a quote-unquote easier schedule than everybody else. So people are wondering just how good you guys really are.
And so am I.
Do you are too?
Yeah. Yeah, I sure am. These players have had a tendency to rise to the occasion, and the one time that I know that they did it and did it quite on their own was when we traveled to Milford, and we just really played a really solid, smooth game that night, and so I know they have it in them. I know they won't be. I don't think there's going to be a lot of intimidation. I don't think you'll have a whole lot of. I'll have to worry about a whole lot of wow, we don't belong here. But I'm wondering just how well they'll shine against some of the better teams myself.
Coach, I want to talk a little bit about the team you're playing today, Sanborn, who's a team who battled you pretty, gave you one of your better games in the regular season.
Right.
They've got a talented quarterback in John Morris, and a kid in Zach Matthews and Mike Rich, two kids who can carry the ball for them. What are your thoughts on, I'm sure you've seen a lot, you've been watching a lot of film on these guys. What are your thoughts on Sanborn?
Well, exactly that. They also are big and strong up front, and we expect a physical battle, but the last time we met them, coaching staff from Sanborn really put together a nice little game plan and really kind of fooled us on a couple of pass plays that I'm hoping that we can sort out today. But they are going to be, we try to present ourselves as a physical team. We are a running team, as you've alluded to, although Isaiah can throw. And when we go up against another physical team, we usually do okay. But Sanborn, battled us on the line of scrimmage pretty well last time. I expect more of the same.
I want to kind of ask you a question based on something you just said. Last year, I think Will Kitterman was your quarterback, right? Yeah, last year, right?
Right.
Yeah, and did a great job for you, but wasn't really a thrower either. But does Isaiah give you more of that? Because I've written recently that some teams like Exeter and I'm trying to think off the top of Spalding, Plymouth. Yeah, thank you, Plymouth. If they run the ball constantly and have great success, when they get down by, say, more than one score, they really have a lot of trouble getting, they're at a disadvantage because all of a sudden they can't really throw the receivers aren't used to being out in coverage and they don't throw the ball that much. Isaiah kind of gives you that. Would you agree with that you maybe a little more balanced offensively than you might have been a year ago, even when you won a championship?
Yeah, we're much more balanced. My era has been to not air it out more this year. We've been we're running the ball at about 7 or 8 yards a carry. So, you hate to mess with success. But I probably should have aired it out more often this year. We fell behind third game of the year to Hollis, and Hollis, although their record doesn't really show it, is a pretty darn good football team, really. And we fell behind by 19 points or something, 3 touchdowns, and we just said to Isaiah, go after it. Let's spread this field out and see what you can do. And he lit up the scoreboard that day with his passing game, and of course he can always tuck it and run. So we know it's there.
That's gotta be huge, right? To have that.
It's something that you can always go back to if you absolutely have to. And we actually run an okay zone read offense when we want to. When Drew gets back there with Isaiah, and they can do that pretty well. We just haven't aired it out yet, and maybe we will.
Coach, one last one before we let you go. Let's go back a couple of years and the situation that happened out there where you resigned during the season. There was some issues, let's just call it that, during the season. You ended up coming back, and then obviously a championship last year and undefeated season this year. Does that feel so far behind you now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. What happened, truly what happened there was that I was trying so hard to change a culture that had somewhat settled in. And I just felt that my nose was to the grindstone so hard. And I think that I was a little bit, I don't know, I don't think I read the situation as well as I could have. I thought that I was kind of swimming uphill a lot. And I think the administration, felt that, I was being a little too pushy in some cases. And so I think that it really had to happen so that we could sit down and sort it out. And it has been a beautiful relationship over there for 2 years, the last 2 years. They have been so gracious to me, and they have been, and not because, I held my breath and turned blue. It was because we sat down and said, this is what I'm after. And they said, well, this is what we'd like to see. And we both met in the middle. And it's been a great relationship for 2 years, which really actually goes right out to the football field. Because when you have a school that's behind you, like that school is behind me, the players feel it. And it's just a great feeling over there right now and has been for a while.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're glad things have worked out for the best for everybody involved. And I can't wait to see that video highlight package of the game. Jen Chick from nhsportspage.com will be out there. Monadnock Sanborn, the Western Conference Championship game in Division II. And you guys win, depending on what happens elsewhere. Probably another home game. If you guys win, you got another home game next week, right? No matter what.
That's right, no matter what.
Okay, well, best of luck, and like Dave said earlier, be nice to Jen when she talks to you after the game, and we look forward to seeing those video highlights up on the website.
Well, I want to thank you on behalf of Monadnock High School. I want to thank you for kind of putting us on the front page this morning, and we all appreciate that. The kids work real hard, and any little bit of free advertisements they get, I think they appreciate.
Well, say hi to Coach Irvin for us for the basketball program. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Linwood Patnode, head coach of the Monadnock Huskies, undefeated and going against Sanborn. What is Sanborn doing in that Western Conference? That's a topic for another day. But,
Oh, yeah.
That's about as east as you can get. Kingston, definitely a Seacoast school out there in the Western Conference. Should be a fun one. All right, we'll take a time out, come back, and we'll go around, the rest of Division II, talk about those games, and then we'll dip into Division III. Get you set for playoff Saturday, New Hampshire High School football. It is the New Hampshire High School Football Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Football on the New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
A little bit more than 4 hours from now, 12 playoff games will kick off around the state of New Hampshire. It is high school football playoff time. 3 divisions, 4 games in each division, all kicking off at 1 o'clock. These are the conference championship games. The winners will move on to the Final Four, so to speak. I'm looking forward to that Nashua South Keene game. Should be a very interesting game. Stello Stadium will have the nhsportspage.com video camera out there. And I will try not to root too heavily. See, here's the thing that will save me from being too biased for Nashua South and my Panthers, class of 1988. I love John Lupa. Love John Lupa. Yeah. He is a great, great guy, awesome football coach, and it should be a great game today.
I feel like Lucas was in high school for 9 years, too, so I sort of miss Lucas Lupa.
Well, there's been a Lupa at quarterback.
Then there was another
for
one,
several years, Tanner Lupa.
Tanner.
Who is on the coaching staff of Ken.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the assistant coaches for Ken.
By the way, before we went to break, you mentioned Ken Irvin. I believe Ken Irvin stepped down as the coach of Monadnock. I don't think he's doing it anymore. I think it was family reasons and whatnot, but I haven't spoken to him. I will, but I believe he stepped down as the Monadnock coach. But by the way, Isaiah Prince is a really good basketball player.
Yeah.
Scored 35 in a game last year.
Yeah, that was against that kid from Messina
Jared
who scored like 1 million points.
Yeah, 61, 62 or something like that. Yeah.
That was a mano scoring.
Listen,
duel.
don't drag me into high school hooper. I'll just get going on it now. I'm trying. I'm holding back.
Speaking about Ken Irvin, Spalding High School Red
Yes,
Raider grad.
I know. Franklin Pierce.
First home game. I used to do Franklin Pierce basketball games back in the day, too. First home game for Spalding since 1993. I don't know if you saw the story. It was in the Foster's, Daily Democrat, Fosters.com, about they did an interview with the quarterback of the last Spalding team to have a home game in Rochester in the playoffs.
They went to his retirement home?
No. He's 38 years old, but he's got a kid who's now 11 and, future football player for the Red Raiders. Great story. I think Mike Whaley or Wally, I don't know how to pronounce the reporter's
Whaley, yeah.
name. He had the story. It's good. You should check that out.
Oh, good.
And you know who they played in that game in 1993?
No.
Pinkerton.
Oh, really?
Remember Matt Jordan? I think we talked about him a couple of weeks ago.
Matt Jordan played for UMass.
That was one of the on that UMass national championship team. That was a Matt Jordan Pinkerton team.
Oh, wow.
And they got beat, I think, 51-13 or something like that, or 51-8 in that game. It's all in that story, and that just goes. They were all in the same division back then.
Yeah.
Pinkerton ended up winning that game against Spalding and then beating Londonderry in the championship game. So I remember when Pinkerton and Londonderry they've always been rivals, but they used to actually be really competitive. They had great teams.
Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, long-time coach at Londonderry.
So that tells you a little something about how long it's been since Spalding has had a home game. Everybody seems to be on that Spalding bandwagon.
Who do you think's going to win?
I got Exeter.
You do. I got Spalding.
I don't want to say I'm a non-believer in Spalding, but I haven't seen them play, and that's a lot of it, and that's shame on me. But you know what? It's a 9-week regular season. I'm going to games pretty much every Friday night and Saturday afternoon. I try and get to as many games as possible across all the different divisions. It's impossible to see every single team. I've tried to do it. If Spalding wins, I'll probably go see them next week. It depends. A lot of potentially awesome Final Four matchups.
You know where?
But I just like Exeter in that game. I think the experience, that playoff experience, and Bill Ball. Nothing against Jeff Hunt, Spalding.
I think the defending champs, you can always kind of give them almost a little too much credit. I mean, this is a different Exeter team, and they certainly could win today. I think most people think I think it's 50-50.
I think most people think Spalding's going to win. If you look at all those picks, it's like me and Roger Brown. You go on his site, nhfootballreport.com, or in the Union Leader. I think he does the picks there in the Union Leader as well. I think me and Roger are like the only guys picking Exeter.
Yeah. I mean, it's a toss-up game. I think it's going to be a great game, and boy, it's going to be over quickly. I mean, that game may be over before any other game because they're just going to run the ball constantly. Trey Scott's been fantastic. They've got
he has
Tyler Snow. I mean,
he's really good.
Yeah,
he's really good.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and Spalding brings it crowd-wise. We know that from being in Durham the last few years for the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, they have huge crowd. Spalding has one of the better crowds of any of those schools, maybe even the best. So there'll be a lot of red today. Exeter, as we know, they'll bring a ton of people. And, it's really exciting. Yeah.
Wyndham Trinity. That's another game that I think is
I expounded on that one.
Game.
What'd you think about what I wrote on that in the preview?
Well, I thought you were I don't want to say harsh, but it was kind of like a reality slap maybe for Trinity, like what's going on there. They were so good. They have the ability to do other things, and they have chosen not to do. I thought you went after Steve Burns a little bit.
No, I certainly wasn't. I mean, I said that they were well prepared.
I bet you he was pissed. I bet you he didn't like reading that.
Well, if he is, he'll let me know, and it's fine. I certainly wasn't. It wasn't about Steve Burns at all, who I think I've defended, and I think he's a very good coach. They beat Central last year in the Turkey Bowl, and he adjusted when they went to Plymouth last year. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it will be the most interesting score of the day.
All right, a lot of fun. 12 games. We're covering a couple of them on the website, nhsportspage.com. Look for the highlights, Keene, Nashua South, and Monadnock, Sanborn tomorrow, nhsportspage.com. For Dave Haley and the great John Casty and Dave's daughter, Allison.